Good morning, church family and guests. You know what, Stu? Last week we met quite a few guests back at the U Connect Center. We had people from Nigeria, Texas. We had, met a couple people from Germany, different places in California,
That's pretty
Antioch, Bishop. It's just fun to meet all of you. So if you are visiting us today, please come out to the U Connect Center, say hi, and get your special gift. This is a time, though, when we tell what's going on here at the church. Stu, what's up?
First off, we have Vespers this evening at 5 p.m. right here in the sanctuary. It's the annual Rain Cross Chorale concert. This is always a great concert. We encourage you to come out at 5 p.m. this evening.
I have with me Simone Dennis, who we are very blessed to have because she hates being in front of the camera. Simone, thank you for indulging us here. Simone works for discipleship and helps with volunteers. Many of you already know her, but she's also in charge of our annual Thanksgiving project, which this year has changed a little bit. So Simone, what are we doing this year?
Yes, we have decided we would like to fill up our food pantry at the URich office. And so we are asking our church community to just bring in food items so we can feed our families in the community over Thanksgiving and also during the rest of the year.
Okay, so you want people to bring in food items.
Yes.
Now, how are they going to know what to bring and what type of items?
We have a list in the bulletin. It also will be on the website and also in the foyer in the back. We have some flyers. There are food items, non-perishable items, cans, easy to be opened, and just ready to eat and ready to serve items, so with no cooking necessary.
Okay, and if I'm at home, and I know this would be the case, going and possibly finding expired food items, that's embarrassing to say, but
Well,
what
I am
do you
more
collect
than
those?
happy for you to get your expired food items and throw them out at home, because if you bring them to us, we will throw them out here because we cannot give out expired food items.
So don't even waste my time bringing them to you.
Yes, no.
Okay.
It will just be thrown out.
All right, so food items. Now, what is the extent of this project? How long will it last?
We will be collecting the food items at the foyer until November the 30th. And also during the week, you can go to the URich office during office hours, Monday through Thursday from 8:30 till 4:30, and Friday from 8:30 till 1:30. And you can also, even after in December, if you don't have time in November, you can bring it in December as well.
Okay, wonderful. So food items that are not expired.
Correct.
Every Sabbath until November 30 in the foyer,
Yes.
weekdays at the URich office.
Correct.
Anything else you want to say?
Well, we are hoping that we'll collect a lot of food, so we'll be able to help a lot of needy families. We get a lot of families come and ask for food at our URich office, so it would be very helpful if we could fill our pantry this Thanksgiving.
Okay, thank you so much for all that you've done with this. We need your help. We can use food. Check out your bulletin and bring those items to the foyer or the URich office. Stu, good to have you back.
It's good to be back. Simone filled in real quick.
She did a great job.
She did, actually. Got one more announcement. It's always a favorite. It's next week, November 2nd from 5 to 6. It's Animal Vespers. This is always a big hit with everyone. We encourage you to come early. This year the theme is on reptiles. You're going to want to come early because it always fills up fast. That's next week, November 2nd at 5 p.m. right here in the sanctuary.
That's a wrap on announcements today. We love the fact that you are here. If you have any questions on anything that is happening here at the church, look in your bulletin, go to our app, which we encourage you to use also for your bulletin. And please come see us out at the U Connect Center. We'd love to answer any questions that you have.
And have a wonderful Sabbath day.
Happy Sabbath and welcome to the Loma University Church. Isn't it wonderful to come into the presence of God? Welcome into the house of God here at Loma University Church, but we also want to say a great big welcome to all of you who are watching at either great or short distance through our broadcast opportunities, whether streaming or through our partners at LLBN. Welcome, and we invite God's presence to wherever you live as well. We are in the business of growing disciples here at Loma Linda. And today I have a question for you. As a growing disciple, are you glad today? Well, it sounds like most of you need some encouragement today. And so I'm going to encourage you with Psalm chapter 122, verse 1. When David said, I was glad when they said unto me, let us come into the house of the Lord. That's where we are today. Your Savior, your King, the God who loves you more than you can even define is right here. Let's give him all the praise and all of our worship today as we are glad to come in to his house today. Welcome to worship.
There is Amen. I invite those who choose to kneel with me as we seek the Lord in prayer. Our gracious God, what a privilege it is to come into your presence, a God who is so faithful, that you change not, that your mercies are new every day, every morning. You give us strength for today and hope for tomorrow. And we just are so thankful for who you are and what you are, and for what you have done in our lives through your Spirit. But Lord, we confess that we have fallen short, that we are not worthy of all your mercies, but we are thankful and grateful for them. We're thankful for this privilege to worship together and to praise your name. And so we come expecting a blessing from you and pray that you will speak through Pastor Roberts as he opens your word. And as we look at the life of Jacob and continue in that series, Lord, we see many things in our family and in our lives, in his family, and how human nature so often wants to be in control. We don't want to submit to you, but we see also in his life that as he and his father and grandfather tried to take things into their own hands, try to help God out and do it their way, that they just messed things up. And so, Lord, send your Spirit to help us to be willing to submit, to become disciples as you would have us be. And Lord, there are many in our midst. We all come with special needs today, and many are sorrowing the loss of a loved one. Others are sick, some in the hospital, some at home, and unable to be here. We just pray that they will sense your presence. You know the needs of each one, and those that are discouraged or depressed, and you know, and be close to each one of them. We pray for our leaders, both in our denomination and in our country. They need your help so much. And we just long for that day when Jesus will come, and pray that it will be soon. In his name I pray. Amen.
little children, where are you? Come on up. Pick up that lamb's offering as you come forward, all right? All right, adults, did you do your stretching this morning? You all ready to go? All right, here we go. I'm in, right out, right up, right down, right happy all the time. I'm in, right out, right up, right down, right happy all the time. Since Jesus Christ came in, I gave my heart to him. I'm in, right out, right up, right down, right happy all the time. Now, last week we did it normal. We didn't reverse anything. What were we thinking? We're going to reverse it now, all of it. So we're going to do down, right, up, right, out, right, in, right. You ready? I'm down, right, up, right, out, right, in, right, happy all the time. I'm down, right, up, right, out, right, in, right, happy all the time. Since Jesus Christ came in, I gave my heart to him. I'm down, right, up, right, out, right, in, right, happy all the time. Faster. I'm down, right, up, right, out, right, in, right, happy all the time. I'm down, right, up, right, out, right, in, right, happy all the time. Since Jesus Christ came in, I gave my heart to him. I'm down, right, up, right, out, right, in, right, happy all the time. Amen. Well, boys and girls, it certainly is good to see you. Do we have some more lamb's offering that needs to go over there? Oh, thank you, sir. Wonderful. Well, this happens to be Pastor Appreciation Month, and I think some of you might have even helped to record what we get to see. So let's take a look on the video here and see what you all did.
What a pastor's job is to... That's a hard question. I think pastors, what they do all day, I think most of the time they preach on Sabbath, but when they have days off, they might go to different churches. I think they practice preaching about God, because they need to get ready for the Saturday. I think they might go to the park with their children. They probably take a break and chill. I think they sleep. I think pastors tell us good stuff. What I think they do is that they help run the church and keep it in how it's supposed to go like. They sometimes sing songs. I think the most important thing that pastors do are have meetings about what they're supposed to do. I think doctors work harder than pastors because they always get new patients. I think being a doctor is harder than being a pastor. I think pastors have a really hard job because they preach about Jesus every week. And sometimes they sometimes get vacations, but not always. It's so hard because you have to get up on stage and say stuff. I think our pastors work very hard on Sabbath stuff. I think that doctors work harder than pastors because the doctors have to go out sometimes, keep on going, and they stay out for all of the weekdays. Pastors, they just come to church to do what they have to do only on Saturdays. I'd say Pastor Doug is about 42. Pastor Doug is 35. 56. Pastor Doug is 27. I think Pastor Joey is older than Pastor Randy. I'd say Pastor Randy looks like about 40 years old. 49. 50? 50, about in his 52. 55. 74. I think Pastor Randy is 26 years old. I would like Pastor Randy to teach, to put 2 scriptures, memory verse into the church every Saturday, so it would be more better, so we don't have to, so we can get quicker through the Bible. I want to hear Pastor Randy preach, saying to everybody to be nice to each other, even though they're not nice to each other. I think Pastor Randy should preach about bravery. Also, I would like to hear about Pastor Randy, how God helped him be a pastor. I might want to be a pastor because I want children to love God, and I want children to pray to God and spend time with God. I would like to be a pastor because they talk about Jesus. I want to grow up to be a pastor so that I could teach what I've learned to other people. I would like to be a pastor because they preach about God and they tell about Jesus, and that's pretty much it. Thank you, pastors, for being so nice and telling the story in a little humor. I really appreciate pastors for loving God, and I do too. Thank you, Pastor, for preaching for us. Thank you, pastors, for telling children's stories. Thank you, pastors, for everything you do. Thank you, pastors, for being God's children. Thank you, pastors, for being there when I need you.
Oh, that was delightful. So now you can help me, and all of you can help me too. Raise your right hand and put it on your left shoulder. Now, raise your left hand, put it on your right shoulder. Now, squeeze! That's a hug from the pastors to you. That's right. You can take that hug with you all the way back to your seats. We love you so much. So, in the back there's the table like we had last week. If you want to write a note of appreciation or commiseration to your pastors, you can do so. Also, all of the pastors will be there to give you a real live hug personally out in the courtyard for Friendship Cup right immediately following the service if you want to join us there.
Last week, Pastor Randy's message focused on a kind of love that freely gives all, everything. If you missed this message, I encourage you to go find it on our website or our church app. Today, the message we will hear is entitled, No Honor Among Thieves. What in the world will you learn and will I learn from the life of Jacob this week? As we prepare to hear Pastor Randy, let's read our quotes together. He that takes truth for his guide and duty for his end may safely trust to God's providence to lead him aright. God never calls his people to accomplish anything without promising to supply their every need. God's providence is nothing more than his goodness in action. God blesses us that we may bless others. Something to think about.
Today's scripture is Genesis chapter 30, verses 25 through 30. It will be found in your pew Bibles on page 45. Soon after Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban,
Please release me so I can go home to my own country.
Let me take my wives and children, Leah and Rachel and all those children.
You certainly know how hard I've worked for you.
He had worked really hard,
Please listen to me.
Laban replied.
I have become wealthy, for the Lord has blessed me because of you. Tell me how much I owe you. Whatever it is, I'll pay it.
Jacob replied,
You know how hard I've worked for you?
Really hard, remember?
And how all your flocks and herds have grown under my care?
You had little indeed before I came, but now your wealth has increased enormously. Maybe by a gazillion times. The Lord has blessed you through everything I've done. But what about me? When will I start providing for my own family?
Say bye-bye. Say bye. Bye. Mm-hmm. Come on.
I think this month needs to be Pastor's Kids Appreciation Month. Hasn't that been wonderful? Just outstanding. And that video, have mercy. I was wondering what I'd do. That kind of helped, although I had the sense that in some of those cases they were kind of making it up as they went. No cracks about the sermon now, but that's kind of the sense I felt about that. But weren't they precious? We're so deeply grateful for the privilege of ministering here in this context to a wonderful community of family and friends. So thank you very much. So I want to remind you of a story. It's a story that was told by the pastor and writer Kyle Idleman, which you probably remember. Certainly if you've read Idleman or listened. Idleman was moving, he and his family, and moving is never fun. He had saved, once they got into the new house, the hardest task for the end, which was moving his large office desk that was very heavy. He tells of how he began to heave and hoe and huff and puff and slowly move that across the floor and trying to get it into his office and into the right place. When his 4-year-old boy walked in and saw him straining to get it done, he said, Daddy, I'll help you. So his 4-year-old boy squeezed in under him, and he began to huff and to puff and to heave and to hoe and to push and to shove. And they continued moving across the floor for just a few more feet until his son stopped and he said, Daddy, you're getting in my way. I love that story because that one story captures the essence of Jacob's experience today. If you remember that one story, you will remember that through which Jacob especially, but also Laban, passes. But there's one other scene that you need to have in mind as you consider Jacob's experiences today. You need to remember back 20 years in Jacob's life to that moment when he came to the place that he named Bethel, the gateway of heaven. You'll remember he was running for his life, uncertain about his future, trying to find his mother's family, feeling forsaken and abandoned by God. His brother is breathing out threats to kill him. It's a critical time in his life when he suddenly realizes, I'm in the presence of God. And it is then that God gives him a threefold promise. He says to him, Jacob, I will be with you, I will care for you, and I will bring you back home. Allow that scene also to hover over everything that happens to Jacob today. Because what happens to Jacob today is truly going to test whether or not he believes that promise uttered by God so many years before. So today's story unfolds like a drama. It's a play with 4 acts. The curtain rises on Act 1. We could give Act 1 the title, Do It My Way. Do it my way. So we go to Genesis chapter 30. I'm going to read today from the New Living Translation. The text has some places that could be murky, and the NLT does a very good job of clarifying it, making it crystal clear. So we go to Genesis 30, beginning with verse 25. Soon after Rachel had given birth to Joseph, Jacob said to Laban, Please release me so I can go home to my own country. Let me take my wives and children, for I have earned them by serving you, and let me be on my way. You certainly know how hard I have worked for you. Please listen to me, Laban replied. I become wealthy, for the Lord has blessed me because of you. Tell me how much I owe you. Whatever it is, I'll pay it. Jacob replied, You know how hard I've worked for you, and how your flocks and herds have grown under my care. You had little indeed before I came, but your wealth has increased enormously. The Lord has blessed you through everything I've done. But now what about me? When can I start providing for my own family? What wages do you want? Laban asked again. Jacob replied, Don't give me anything. Just do this one thing, and I'll continue to tend and watch over your flocks. Let me inspect your flocks today and remove all the sheep and goats that are speckled or spotted, along with all the black sheep. Give these to me as my wages. In the future, when you check on the animals you have given me as my wages, you'll see that I've been honest. If you find in my flock any goats without speckles or spots, or any sheep that are not black, you will know that I have stolen them from you. All right, Laban replied, it will be as you say. But that very day, Laban went out and removed the male goats that were streaked and spotted, all the female goats that were speckled or spotted or had white patches, and all the black sheep. He placed them in the care of his own sons, who took them a 3 days' journey from where Jacob was. Meanwhile, Jacob stayed and cared for the rest of Laban's flock. Then Jacob took some fresh branches from poplar, almond, and plane trees and peeled off strips of bark, making white streaks on them. Then he placed these peeled branches in the watering troughs where the flocks came to drink, for that was where they mated. And when they mated in front of the white streaked branches, they gave birth to young that were streaked, speckled, and spotted. Jacob separated these lambs from Laban's flock, and at mating time he turned the flock to face Laban's animals that were streaked or black. This is how he built his own flock instead of increasing Laban's. Whenever the stronger females were ready to mate, Jacob would place the peeled branches in the watering troughs in front of them. Then they would mate in front of the branches. But he didn't do this with the weaker ones, so the weaker lambs belonged to Laban, and the strong ones were Jacob's. As a result, Jacob became very wealthy with large flocks of sheep and goats, female and male servants, and many camels and donkeys. Do it my way. Laban and Jacob are both focused on themselves. They're locked in a severe family conflict. It's been 20 years. Jacob's ready to go. He no doubt misses his homeland, and he no doubt remembers clearly the promise, I will bring you back to this place, back to Bethel. And so he says to Laban, it's time for me to go. He's tried this before, 6 years before. It's time for me to go. And Laban pressed him, pressured him, prevailed upon him to stay. Now at the 20-year mark, I'm leaving. Oh, no, don't go. Please stay. What do you need? Need a raise? Need some more benefits? Need a corner office? What do you need? Just tell me. I'll provide it. So Jacob comes up with a plan. He says, look, this is what we'll do. These certain kind of colors on the goats and the sheep, give these to me. Those will be mine. You take all the rest of them. That way, you can see that I'm honest when you check. He already knows that Laban is suspicious. They've had enough battling along the way. Now, Jacob, to his credit, goes the extra mile. Because I read that kind of coloration on sheep and goats would have been distinctly in the minority, been a much smaller herd than what he left to Laban. Laban, as soon as he gets them, gets his sons, get these, go, 3 days, get out of here. He takes them all in another direction. He's once more saying, I'm going to do it my way. I'm going to take care of me. Now, it's tempting right there to feel bad for Jacob. But before you feel bad for Jacob, Jacob's got his own scheme going. He does something that can best be described as a mixture of ancient science and wisdom, ancient superstition and myth, mixed in with his own desperate desire to have his herd grow, mixed in with saying, God, please bless this mess. And it all results in a theological term called hocus pocus. That's what Jacob does. He said, okay, I'm going to strip these barks. I'm going to put these here. You lambs face in that direction. You do. It's all going to work out. I'm going to do it. I've got to do it my way. I've got to take care of me. Kind of reminds me, about 8 years ago, of the Super Bowl commercial. I hate TV commercials, but I like Super Bowl commercials. The one of them that year was a really good one. It was advertising as a car company. I don't want to give, airtime to a car company, but it rhymes with Volkswagen. So this car company is advertising their new car and their new way of starting and turning on and off and lights and all the rest. It starts with this boy in a Darth Vader costume. He's going around the house trying to use his Darth Vader powers to make things move or something. You're not told exactly what. He stands in front of the washing machine and tries, nothing happens. Stands in front of the dog and tries, nothing happens. Stands in front of the stationary bicycle and tries, nothing happens. And you can see his disappointment. His shoulders just kind of go down, he slumps down. And then he hears the car in the driveway. His dad is home, driving a brand new Volkswagen. He races out to see his dad. His dad jumps out thinking he's here to see me, to hug him. He moves him aside because now he's going to try his Darth Vader powers on the car. So the dad walks into the house and stands in the kitchen window with his wife and the boy's mother watching. And he sees the boy standing there in front of the car, and nothing happens. And then you see the dad take this, at that time, newfangled key fob, and he hits it. And suddenly the lights flash and the engine comes on. And the kid looks like he's been struck by lightning. He falls back. He looks toward the house, looks back toward the car, and you can almost see inside the mask that he's thinking, I did it. I did it. Unbelievable. I finally did it. That's Jacob. I'm going to do this if I have to use whatever I have to use, but I'm going to have a flock. He's doing me a dirty deal. I'm just going to take care of me over here. I'm going to do it my way. And the curtain falls on Act 1. Do it my way. Now, I don't look so much there, but I imagine in my mind's eye looking not at that scene, but above it and seeing God. There's God standing, surveying what's happening with Jacob and Laban. Stands there with the key fob in his hand, watching them trying to push that desk. start that car. And then he looks up and realizes you're looking at him. And God kind of winks at you. So did you see that? They think they're doing it. Isn't that cute? They think they're the ones in control. But then he looks at you as though to say, don't judge. Don't get uppity. And you suddenly realize he's thinking of that place in your life where you've been fighting, demanding, it's my way, I'll get it done. No matter what I have to do, I'm going to overcome this person. And you have a sense that God knows that. Standing there with the key fob. And the curtain rises on Act 2. The title, No, I'll Do It My Own Way. So we go back to Genesis. This time to Genesis 31, starting with verse 1. But Jacob soon learned that Laban's sons were grumbling about him. Jacob has robbed our father of everything, they said. He has gained all his wealth at our father's expense. And Jacob began to notice a change in Laban's attitude toward him. Then the Lord said to Jacob, return to the land of your father and grandfather and to your relatives there, and I will be with you. Does that sound familiar from Bethel? So Jacob called Rachel and Leah out to the field where he was watching his flock. He said to them, I've noticed that your father's attitude toward me has changed, but the God of my father has been with me. You know how hard I worked for your father, but he has cheated me, changing my wages 10 times. But God does not allow him to do me any harm. For if he said the speckled animals will be your wages, the whole flock began to produce speckled young. And when he changed his mind and said the striped animals will be your wages, then the whole flock produced striped young. In this way, God has taken your father's animals and given them to me. And then we skip down to verse 14. Rachel and Leah responded, that's fine with us. We won't inherit any of our father's wealth anyway. He has reduced our rights to those of foreign women. And after he sold us, he wasted the money you paid him for us. All the wealth God has given you from our father legally belongs to us and our children. So go ahead and do whatever God has told you. So Jacob put his wives and children on camels, and he drove all his livestock in front of them. He packed all the belongings he had acquired in Paddan Aram and set out for the land of Canaan where his father Isaac lived. At the time they left, Laban was some distance away shearing his sheep. Rachel stole her father's idols, household idols, and took them with her. Jacob outwitted Laban the Aramean, for they set out secretly and never told Laban they were leaving. So Jacob took all his possessions with him and crossed the Euphrates River, heading for the hill country of Gilead. And so Jacob says to his wives, shh, come out here. And they go out to the fields. Shh, keep this quiet. We got to get out of here. Your father's demanding that I do it his way, but you know how he cheats me? I've been fighting to get it done my way. That's a problem. Well, I'm going to do it my way. I've got to leave. I've got to go. And they say to him, lead the way. We're right behind you. Even his own daughters are tired of Laban's antics. You see, there was a custom at the time that when a father was paid a bride price for his daughter, to keep either all or some of that, if you will, in trust. So that if something happened to the husband, he died, he left, he divorced her, she would now have something from which to live. Not with Laban. His daughters say he spent it all on himself. And make no mistake about it, it was a large amount, 14 years of wages. Spent it all on himself. Only one he's interested in is himself. You can understand why they are locked in this family battle. So yeah, you want to go? We're behind you. Let's go. So Jacob did something unthinkable in his culture. Now we would think it was a bit odd too, wouldn't we? If we had somebody come and stay with us, family, friend, come and stay with us, spend a couple of days, and then we wake up one morning, didn't know they were going, and everything's gone. Where did they go? Where are their suitcases? Where's their car? They're gone. What did we do? That's what he did, but it would have been much more jarring in that culture. He said, I'm going to do it my own way, and I'm getting out of here. I'm not going to be a part of this fight any longer. And then the narrator adds a little line. It catches our attention. In fact, it speaks of something to come. He says, and Rachel stole her father's household idols. These would have been little figures. Many of them have been recovered by archaeologists. There were superstitions about them. Why did Rachel steal them? Was she wanting a tie with home? Was she believing the superstition that said if you take them with you, they'll give you a good journey? Was she trying to take one last swipe at her father for the way he had treated her and her husband? We don't know exactly why. But we do know that that sets up the final confrontation. And the curtain falls on Act 2. No, I'll do it my own way. After we've watched the act, with the curtain down, we look up again at God. And God stands watching, key fob in hand, watching as Jacob's actions say, I will push this desk all the way to Bethel if I have to, and my wives will help me do it. I'm going to get it done my own way, rather than standing with faith and courage and saying, God is with me, and God will take me through any conflict. And God watches. Sees you watching, and he winks. Lets you in on the secret. Jacob thinks he's pushing that desk. Isn't that cute? And the curtain rises on Act 3. Title of the act? Then I'll hurt you. Do it my way? No, I'll do it my own way. Really? Then I'll hurt you. We go back to Genesis 31, verse 22. 3 days later, Laban was told that Jacob had fled, so he gathered a group of his relatives and set out in hot pursuit. He caught up with Jacob 7 days later in the hill country of Gilead. But the previous night, God had appeared to Laban the Aramean in a dream and told him, I'm warning you, leave Jacob alone. Laban caught up with Jacob as he was camped in the hill country of Gilead, and he set up his own camp not far from Jacob's. What do you mean by deceiving me like this? Laban demanded. How dare you drag my daughters away like prisoners of war? Why did you slip away secretly? Why did you deceive me? And why didn't you say you wanted to leave? I would have given you a farewell feast with singing and music accompanied by tambourines and harps. Why didn't you let me kiss my daughters and grandchildren and tell them goodbye? You've acted very foolishly. I could destroy you, but the God of your father appeared to me last night and warned me, leave Jacob alone. I can understand your feeling that you must go and your intense longing for your father's home, but why have you stolen my gods? How many whys in those words? Why? I rushed away, because I was afraid, Jacob answered. I thought you would take your daughters away by force. But as for your gods, see if you can find them, and let the person who has taken them die. And if you find anything else that belongs to you, identify it before all these relatives of ours, and I will give it back. But Jacob did not know that Rachel had stolen the household gods. Laban's attitude says, I'm going to hurt him. I'm going to destroy him. You saw that, verse 29, the first words, I could destroy you. Sounds like Tom Brady talking to the Dallas Cowboys. I could destroy you if I wanted to. He's coming after him, intent on getting his pound of flesh. Just imagine what that journey has been like. It's about 400 miles from where Laban was to where Jacob was camped. It's a long journey, a lot of dry desert between the two, gives Laban a lot of time for pondering and for thinking just exactly what he's going to do when he catches Jacob. He's focused, he's intense, he says it, I could destroy you. And the night before, God steps in. And he just says, Laban, I'm warning you. Leave Jacob alone. Dial it back. Ease off the accelerator. When God has to step in and say, you leave him alone, you know there aren't good things on his mind. But when he does catch him, he launches into this diatribe. Did you notice how many times he said, why? Why? Explain yourself. He's still angry. Why'd you do that to me? And then he has the audacity to say, come on, son-in-law. If you'd have hung around and just said, I want to go, I'd have thrown you a party. We would have had music and song and dancing and food. I would have kissed her. It would have been a beautiful occasion. Bittersweet, yes, but beautiful. Don't you believe it for a minute. Total fabrication. Everything about Laban up to this point says there's no way he was letting his gravy train to wealth get away from him. But he's been backed into a corner. Doesn't know what to do. So he becomes kind of like that person who's losing an argument and is now looking for anything to grab nearby that they can throw in, any possible way to get the other person back. And sometimes those attempts are pretty weak. After a huge fight, the person says, yeah, but you were 7 minutes late. What? After all this? Well, Laban does that. He says, after all of his whys, and finally, what'd you take my household gods for? That's what I'm here after anyway. Now it's Jacob's turn. Jacob says, look, Laban, I did no such thing. I haven't touched your stuff. Everything you see here is mine. In fact, if anybody here has those household gods, we'll kill them. They should die. And right there, I want to say to Jacob, back off. Don't let this argument escalate. I mean, for someone who's done as many underhanded things as you've done, you ought to know that people in your family just might do the same thing. Don't be talking about killing people. Jacob says, search. See if you can find them. Genesis 33, Laban went first into Jacob's tent to search there, and then into Leah's, and then the tents of the servant wives, but he found nothing. Finally, he went into Rachel's tent. But Rachel had taken the household idols and hidden them in her camel's saddle, and now she was sitting on them. When Laban had thoroughly searched her tent without finding them, she said to her father, please, sir, forgive me if I don't get up for you. I'm having my monthly period. So Laban continued his search, but he could not find the household idols. Now, we read that and we laugh. But let me tell you, 2 commentaries will give you the full impact of how Rachel's statement would have hit Laban. Here's the first one. Rachel's excuse that she had her period would have been sufficient to warn off Laban, for in the ancient world, a woman in menstruation was considered a danger because menstrual blood was widely believed to be a habitat for demons. Watch out, Dad. It's that, and he backs away. Second commentary. Ancient Israelites would have sensed how strongly the narrative scorns these idols, since for them, everything that came in contact with a woman during her period became polluted. Rachel, in feigning menstruation, was in actuality ridiculing these gods, treating them as worthless. The eminent Old Testament scholar Gerhard von Rad points out that the determined way that the mighty Laban searched for his powerless images makes him look like a buffoon. To a monotheist, this scene is rich in irony. Is that what you're looking for? Did you want to look? No. That's quite all right. He emerges from the tent, and I can just see Jacob saying, so Laban, how you feeling? You don't look so good. It's a difficult situation, a conflict that will not end. And now we come to the peak of it, because Jacob has had enough. He is sick and tired of the fighting. He's sick and tired of the arguing. He's sick and tired of the power plays, of the do it my way, no, then I'll do it my own way, and then I'm going to hurt you. He's tired of all of that. And so finally, he lets loose with a speech that I'm going to read to you. It's several verses long. I'm going to read it in its entirety and try to read it in the way that I suspect he would have spoken it. But if you're going to listen, you've got to listen in your mind's eye, looking at Jacob with that vein in his forehead about to pop, with the veins in his neck throbbing. Listen to what he says next. Genesis 31, verse 36. Then Jacob became very angry, and he challenged Laban. What's my crime? He demanded. What have I done to make you chase after me as though I were a criminal? You've rummaged through everything I own. Now show me what you found that belongs to you. Set it out here in front of us, before our relatives, for all to see. Let them judge between us. For 20 years I've been with you, caring for your flocks. In all that time, your sheep and goats have never miscarried. In all those years, I never used a single ram of yours for food. If any were attacked and killed by wild animals, I never showed you the carcass and asked you to reduce the count of your flock. No, I took the loss myself. You made me pay for every stolen animal, whether it was taken in the broad daylight or in the dark of night. I worked for you through the scorching heat of the day and through cold and sleepless nights. Yes, for 20 years I slaved in your house. I worked for 14 years, earning your 2 daughters, and then 6 more years for your flock, and you changed my wages 10 times. In fact, if the God of my father had not been by my side, the God of Abraham and the fearsome God of Isaac, you would have sent me away empty-handed. But God has seen your abuse and my hard work. That is why he appeared to you last night and rebuked you. Whew, mercy. Jacob is ticked. He's unloading it all. All the bile, all the vitriol, all the anger that is built up over 20 years of being mistreated. I have had it. You trying to hurt me. So you listen to me even if it hurts you. And he lays it all out. Now there are certain moments when somebody gives a speech like that where there is no response. I mean, what are you going to say to that? It's like, whoa. But Laban has a response. It's much shorter, but I'm going to read it to you as well. And I want you to notice that Laban's heart has not changed at all. I want you to notice that by paying attention to 2 words. Notice how he uses the word my and the word mine. So here comes Laban's speech. Verse 43. Then Laban replied to Jacob, these women are my daughters. These children are my grandchildren. These flocks are my flocks. In fact, everything you see is mine. But what can I do now about my daughters and their children? What can I do? I've been backed into a corner. My daughters don't want to be with me. My grandchildren are attached to their mothers. I was going to get my flocks and herds back, but God warned me off. And my son-in-law can't wait to get away from me. What am I going to do? But just so you get it clearly, all this is mine, not yours, mine. And the curtain falls on the 3rd act. No, I'll do it my way. And I look at God, and I think this is what I hear God say. I think he's not talking to Jacob and Laban. He's talking to you and me. But he's inviting us to observe what just happened. I think God might say, in a broken world, sin-sick world, friendship fractured, relationship ruptured world, there are some problems in families, in marriages, in friendships that are simply intractable. You can't fix them. You can fight all day long, and they'll never get fixed. You can come to the epitome of the greatest argument, and as soon as you're done, the other person says, yeah, it's all mine. What do you have left after that? There are some problems that just can't get fixed. So you have to make a decision. Are you going to continue to fight? Or are you going to set up a Mizpah gate? The curtain rises on the final act, Act 4. We could title Act 4, Let's Agree to Disagree. Mizpah. Now the Mizpah, That's very touching, isn't it? I have heard it year after year, sung from this platform by Loma Linda Academy, by the choirs that come and perform at the end of the year. And one of the songs they have performed time and again is the song, the Mizpah song. May the Lord watch between you and me while we are absent one from another. It's beautiful. And I've sat here year after year and just felt the bittersweet nostalgia. Here are these kids, they're about to part, go separate ways, colleges across this land and others. Who knows when they'll see each other again? And they're saying, God, take care of us, please, to bring us back together in safety. That's the Mizpah. Except that that's not the Mizpah. It's a part of it. It's embedded in there. But there's much more to it than that. And you'll pick it up in a moment when we read the verses. Because the Mizpah is the setting up of a boundary that says neither one of us will cross this to hurt the other one. We're done with our fighting. We're done with it's my way and then, oh, no, it's my way and then, okay, then I'm going to hurt you. We're done with that. We're going to set up a boundary, a monument that says, even if we can't fix the problem, we're not going to hurt each other anymore. Now, what's curious as we read these verses, just notice a careful reading, and some of this requires a bit of knowledge of the Hebrew, the scholars tell us, but a careful reading will reveal a number of twos, two monuments, two names, two gods, two languages. They can't even agree on how they're going to set this up. They each have their own side of it. Well, they're trying to set up the Mizpah gate. So notice the verses. Beginning now with verse 44, Laban is still speaking. So come, let's make a covenant, you and I, and it will be a witness to our commitment. Commitment to what? That comes next. So Jacob took a stone, set it up as a monument. Then he told his family members, gather some stones. So they gathered stones and piled them in a heap. Then Jacob and Laban sat down beside the pile of stones to eat a covenant meal. To commemorate the event, Laban called the place Jegar-Sahadutha, which means witness pile in Aramaic. And Jacob called it Gilead, which means witness pile in Hebrew. Can't even agree on who's going to call it what. Then Laban declared, this pile of stones will stand as a witness to remind us of the covenant we have made today. This explains why it was called Gilead, witness pile, but it was also called Mizpah, which means watchtower. Would you agree on a name? For Laban said, may the Lord keep watch between us to make sure that we keep this covenant when we are out of each other's sight. If you mistreat my daughters or if you marry other wives, God will see it, even if no one else does. He is a witness to this covenant between us. See this pile of stones, Laban continued, and see this monument I have set between us. They stand between us as witnesses of our vows. I will never pass this pile of stones to harm you, and you must never pass these stones or this monument to harm me. I call on the God of our ancestors, the God of your grandfather Abraham, and the God of my grandfather Nahor, to serve as judge between us. So Jacob took an oath before the fearsome God of his father Isaac to respect the boundary line. Then Jacob offered a sacrifice to God there on the mountain and invited everyone to a covenant feast. After they had eaten, they spent the night on the mountain. Laban got up early the next morning, and he kissed his grandchildren and his daughters and blessed them. Then he left and returned home. We can't get along. We can't agree. We continue to fight. So let's just agree to disagree and to stop hurting each other. There's still distance. In fact, listen to this brief statement from John Hartley, Old Testament scholar, writing on this moment. He says, the kiss of kinship frames Jacob's stay with his uncle. At the beginning, Jacob kissed Rachel, and Laban welcomed him with a kiss. Years later, however, when Jacob and Laban separated never to meet again, Laban kissed his grandchildren and daughters, but he did not kiss Jacob, evidence of the distance between them. Curtain falls. Act 4. Let's agree to disagree. let's just realize that all of our fighting, all of our continual trying to push that desk where we think it should go, all of the things that we try to get the car running, everything that we attempt to say to make God take our side and to give us what we think God should give us, all of that, we'll let it go. We'll remember the promise, at least Jacob will. God said, I'll go with you, I'll care for you, and I'll bring you home. Sometimes it's just more peaceful to trust than to fight. So I look not at the scene of Jacob and Laban avoiding kissing each other. I look at the scene of God. God above there stands there with a key fob in his hand. And he's looking at you. And he chuckles. And he makes reference to that fight you're engaged in, demanding your rights, demanding that you need what only God can give you. He chuckles. He looks at you and he says, you know, I complete what I start. I give what I promise. Looks at the key fob and says, so relax. I got it. Gracious God, we stand before you today, many of us bruised and battered, fighting for our own way, fighting to fulfill a promise that you made and only you can fulfill. Lord, I pray that we might relinquish and release and relax in the ever-watchful, loving care of God. Might you fulfill what you promised, and might we believe it. In Jesus' name, amen.
Hello, everybody. So glad to have you joining us. And I've got to let you know, you've got to listen fast this Sabbath because we've got quite a list of very special people. And right at the top, listen, hello, Camden Hartnell, Preston Hartnell. Are you guys both there? I'm here to wish you both a happy birthday. 3rd birthday for Camden, 7th birthday for Preston. Look at these guys. Aren't they terrific? And there they are with very proud mommy and daddy. Congratulations on birthdays. David and Ethel Meyer. Bless your hearts. Listen up, folks. These two have been married for 70 years. They've been missionaries in many wonderful places, and now they're back in Mentone here in Southern California. And to mark their 70th anniversary, they chose to be rebaptized together. So rejoice with them. Congratulations. Hello, Roland Lonzer. Dear brother Roland, you are such a dear friend, and I'm always glad to be where you are. And now to know it's your birthday, Roland. Congratulations. Hello, Audrey Williams, also a very important part of our community here at Loma Linda. And I want to say happy birthday to you, Audrey. Gordon Henderson, talk about history. We go way back. The days of the theologians. Some of us will remember, but you're having a birthday, Gordon, over there in Wyoming, and I want to wish you the very best. Cy and Dory Beats. So glad to get to be where you two were just a few days ago to celebrate Cindy's and Ken's wedding. And now to celebrate your anniversary, it is. I think your 65th. Congratulations. And the way to go with that convertible. Lee Ann Northrup, a very important part of our family here at Loma Linda University, and I'm glad to be reminded of your birthday and to see you there with that special man in your life. Hello, Carol Monette. Always glad to get to be where you are, too, particularly when you're one of the greeters here at University Church, and now to see you on your birthday with dear Don and John. Congratulations. Hello, Don Lowe, all the way over there in Conover, North Carolina. I'm glad to have your name come up on my list as well, because I'm here to wish you a very happy birthday and to say hi to Mimi also. Hello, Jared Wareham. So glad to see you at church here, Jared, and to know of all the wonderful things you get to do. You've won so many trophies, and now you're swimming. Congratulations, Jared, on a very important birthday and on all your achievements, and hello to your wonderful family. Get this, folks. There are 5 members of a family, as I understand it, all of whom have birthdays in October. And to start my list, hello, Esla Hutchinson in Toronto, a birthday. Carl Hutchinson, a birthday also in Toronto. And Junior Carlisle Hutchinson, not in Toronto, but over in Montreal, a birthday. And Zara Bridge Mahan, there in Toronto, also having a birthday, as well as Nicole Guthrie. You 5, I hope, are celebrating together, and I kind of sneak into the celebration with a happy birthday. Hello, Gary Egger. So glad to know it's your birthday. And I'm here to wish you and your dear precious wife best greetings. Hello, Don Jacobson. I already mentioned the theologians. You go back to those days at Walla Walla as well, and I'm glad to know you're having birthdays, Don. Congratulations. Hi to Ruthie as well. Hello, Jean Crone, a part of our family right here in Loma Linda, and I hear it's your 92nd birthday. Congratulations, Jean, and many more. Hello, Beverly Farley, also a part of our family here in Loma Linda, and glad to know you're having birthdays as well. Congratulations. Hello, Jim Walters. Glad you're a part of our School of Religion here at Loma Linda, and always glad to get to be where you are in one of the special events that you host. Lois Dalrymple, up Oregon Way, Wilsonville, I think. There you are with daughter Jeannie. congratulations on your birthday. And I think you are marking 92 birthdays as well. Hello, Marcia Sanchez, over at the Villa. Glad to be reminded it's your birthday this week as well, and I wish you the very, very best. Hello, Bob Smith, over there in Wenatchee. Glad to know you are having a birthday this month of October as well, and I know you've been traveling, but you're back home, I think, and I'm here to say congratulations and happy birthday, Bob, and all the best to dear Cheryl. Hello, Walter Grant, a part of Betsy's class back at Auburn Academy. And there you are with classmates. You're on the left side. Congratulations, Walter, on your birthday. Hello, Linda Banks, a part of our family here in Loma Linda. Sure wish I could see you more. Got to do something about that, as I wish you a very happy birthday, Linda. Hello, Alice Farley, also a part of the Loma Linda University Church family. Glad to see you and Norm whenever I can. And now to know it's your birthday, Alice. Happy greetings. Hello, Rick Washburn. Always glad to see you here at Loma Linda University Church as well. And I hope you have a wonderful birthday this week. Congratulations. Hello, Ken Salerno, New Plymouth, Idaho you are. And there you are, Ken, with your youngest grandchild. Congratulations. And there we are. Hope to see you next week, okay?